And what day is it again today?
It's this Thursday!
Alright, welcome back everyone, and thanks for joining us on this Juneteenth special edition podcast. We just watched a pretty interesting video about the origins of Juneteenth.
Yes.
What did you guys think?
Back in the days, the freedom, like slave and stuff.
Right, Horace.
Slavery and stuff. Yes. Like like in Africa or Mississippi.
Well, it was talking about Texas specifically.
Oh, Texas, okay.
Right.
Slavery.
Can anyone maybe explain what we just watched in the video? Anybody think they got a pretty good grasp on it? Go ahead,
I think
Josh.
I got it. So, it's a celebration of the beginning of the end of slavery, and it was focusing on civil rights for African Americans, and it was a holiday used to inspire people to continue to fight for their civil rights.
Well put. What about you, Nick?
I think it has to do somewhere in that time period where like the North and the South were fighting, so they were having a civil war. Because North wanted to abolish slavery, get rid of it, and then the South wanted to keep slavery. So they fought each other over that.
Right, and that was the whole Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And this took place, quite some time after that had ended, the North won. All right, and well, guys, what happened after the North won the Civil War?
They abolished slavery in the North, but they didn't stop slavery in the South until 1865.
Right, 1865 is
Yeah.
when, I believe they said that
It didn't stop until 1868, I think.
the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, was that 1862 it said, I think?
62 or 63.
Yeah.
Right, so that's when Abraham Lincoln actually signed it, abolishing slavery for the entire country.
But Texas didn't know until like 1860-something.
Yeah, information didn't travel quite as quickly back then, did it?
No.
We didn't have it. We don't have internet. We didn't have Wi-Fi. They had horseback and handwritten letters.
And trains, don't forget trains.
And trains. Can't forget about trains. So maybe it wasn't always a person on horseback delivering the news, but it took a long time for people to get informed about it.
Yeah.
And did anyone pick up on some other reasons that it might have taken so long for the people in Galveston, Texas to realize that they were indeed free?
Indian free, like Indian free meaning everybody has Indian in them.
I didn't say
Indeed.
indeed free.
Oh.
They're actually free,
Free, indeed free,
Yeah.
but from slavery.
Free from slavery.
Like when it came to did it end like in the 80s?
Well, it was saying in 1865 is when they actually found out, so it ended in 62, and it took 3 years for everybody to actually realize that they're free.
That they're free.
So they had still been working as slaves that whole time for
Slaves.
really no reason.
I know, yeah, it's terrible. That's terrible.
It is. It's a very terrible thing that happened, Horace.
Yeah.
And
yes.
also, it also points out that even though slavery was abolished, African Americans were still treated like second-class citizens.
Even following that.
Yeah, so it was really the start of civil rights for African Americans. It was the start of the fight, and they said that it's still going on today.
You're absolutely right, Josh. And what I was getting at is they're saying there may have been people that tried to sabotage letter carriers, maybe even assassinate people.
Oh, I missed that part. I think that was in the previous video.
It was
I think it was.
Yeah, I heard one quick line that said that some mail carriers would even be assassinated because the farmers, the landowners with plantations and slaves didn't want anyone to take their workers away, even though they had taken away the workers' rights to live as free people.
So they were trying to hide that fact from the world so they could continue to have slaves.
Yep. Keep making money and have somebody doing all your hard work for you while you sit around and be lazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terrible, terrible thing. But like you were saying, Josh, following Juneteenth was really the beginning of the civil rights era
Right.
for African Americans.
Exactly. It wasn't like slavery was over and the African Americans were
And then nobody was still keeping slaves, right? People are still going to break the law. People are going to still...
discriminate, try to I guess,
Right.
make them second class citizens.
Exactly. So we're still rebuilding from that terrible stain on our history as a country today, right?
Yes.
We're still seeing protests, we're still seeing police violence, we're still seeing all this terrible stuff that really stems from the ideologies associated with slavery.
Yeah, which were supposed to be abolished and gone.
Right, so I think that's kind of the point of making today a holiday. You know, all the governments shut down. My girlfriend works at APG, she's off work chilling right now. While I'm at work having this conversation. So, yeah, it's a time to reflect. Just as with 4th of July, you know, we can celebrate, we can have fireworks, parades, all that. But it's really important to take some time to really reflect on what the holiday means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say this, I think two people that really spoke up about it, that were like some of the biggest historical icons, had to be Abraham Lincoln from the 1800s of that time, and then basically somebody like Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
And what I just find so sickening is that they were assassinated for that reason of just trying to make the world a better place to speak up on people that were being oppressed on their behalf.
Right. People just can't handle progress, you know? Progressive ideas that all people should be treated equal.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an excuse for those people that don't treat them like equals, but we have to remember that they're scared of losing their traditions. And I think it's up to us to kind of help them move away from that.
Right.
And we can't use violence and hate against them to get it to happen either.
Right, because maybe people back then weren't aware of the
Right.
ramifications of mistreating your
Right.
fellow man.
Right, and if they've been taught
Not to
that,
defend them.
right, no, that's what I'm getting at. It's like education. Like they may have been taught that slaves were a good thing, and you know, and it's not obviously. But if you were brought up that way,
Right.
it'd be.
But shouldn't the rule be that when you know better, you do better?
Oh, absolutely, Jess. And I'm not excusing them, but I'm just saying that that's why we need to do that.
That's why we need a holiday like this
We
to.
need to educate people.
Mhm.
That's what
I
I'm saying.
agree, yeah.
Continue and figure out what we can do moving forward
Yeah.
to even things out, level the playing field a little bit for
Because
this.
there are a lot of people who are racist who are no longer racist because they were taught the way it's supposed to be. And that gives me hope that people who are racism can change and become good people. So,
Absolutely, Josh. Well put. Yeah, there's no amount of learning that can't be unlearned.
right.
You know, if you're raised in a family that told you this one thing over and over again, and then maybe someday you find out it's not true. It could take years of
Yes.
mental gymnastics to
Yes.
get yourself
I've
thinking
known
the right way.
people that have thought things that are not, in my mind, good, but they've seen the world differently now. But it was hard for them to change.
But people can change, right?
Yes, that's the good thing.
I mean, I don't think any of us believe the same things we believed when we were growing up, right?
No,
You
no.
know, I used to believe in Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, all that stuff.
Yeah, no, yeah.
What?
Someday.
I did when I was little.
Charles.
I think we all believed in him when we was little, when we was small.
Right.
Sure.
But in the first video, they said the U.S. made Juneteenth a federal holiday in 2001.
In 2001.
Yeah, I don't
How
know.
long ago?
Yeah, I don't know what day, but
Are you sure 2001?
that's what they said.
I think that in Texas, it was in 2001, but they made it a
Oh.
federal holiday nationwide in 21.
So Texas was
Oh.
ahead of the curve
Yeah.
because they were the last ones to know, so they, you know.
Oh, okay.
Remember how they
Yeah.
were Christmas?
Oh, nothing to
No,
do.
we're talking about Juneteenth.
Oh,
I was using that to prove the point that you can
Oh.
believe something for a long time,
Hmm.
and then you can be disabused of your
Yeah.
false beliefs.
It
Right.
takes a little bit, and it
Yeah.
takes time. I mean,
Oh.
It
it
takes a
took
lot.
till 2001 to get that
Yeah.
fully recognized. That shows that it, yeah,
And I believe it only became a federal holiday a couple of years ago, right?
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like 4 years ago or
I think
something.
about 4 years ago is when it became a
Yeah, that's interesting.
nationwide thing. I'm afraid they're just gonna take the day off work and enjoy themselves and not have, these kind of difficult conversations that we're having right here.
And not reflect on what the holiday is for. It's not there for people just to have a day off. They should be reflecting and remembering what the holiday is about.
Or like she said in the video, get out in your community, do something that is going to bring about a positive change. I hope that after we have this conversation today, maybe you guys will go home and continue having this open dialogue.
Well, I think
with
the fact that
people
we're
you know
having
about.
this conversation
Because I think
is
about
doing that, yeah.
half of us maybe didn't even know what Juneteenth was before we watched that video. And the other half, I'm sure, learned something. I learned a lot more about it. I mean, I had a general idea, but I didn't know all the ins and outs.
Yeah, I learned something too.
That's great, Kate.
Same.
I think it's actually kind of important to focus on one thing Charles said, that it's a progressive idea to think that other human beings should get the same dignity and respect that we all do. And what floors me with that is that is currently considered a progressive idea. Like, that's so radical. Wow, everyone should
Yeah.
be treated equally and with respect. That's a crazy idea. I would love to see one day when that's not
Yeah.
a crazy idea.
And not to get off topic, but it reminds me of the struggles that we deal with people with disabilities.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Exactly.
you know, we're still getting discriminated against where we have disabilities.
Mhm.
Right. I'm sure there are some similarities there, right? It all gets back to that idea that all men are created equal. All men and women. They should probably change that expression to all people
Yeah.
are created equal and deserve the same respect, rights, access to resources, education, everything.
But we're discriminated against and our freedoms are at risk.
Right? And it's up to you and the people you know to do exactly what you do in your groups. Self-advocate. Right?
Yes.
Life itself it's just a struggle to deal with sometimes. And I understand basically no matter what heritage you are or what sex you are, you're still a person, you're still a human being, so that's got to be taken into mind.
Absolutely right, man.
I agree, Nick.
Destiny, you're awful quiet. Did you have any thoughts about the video that we just watched?
No, really, but I do know that that this holiday is also a day to celebrate freedom.
Absolutely, just like the 4th of July, huh? We were
Yeah.
talking about before. So it's a good idea to discuss what freedom means.
Believe it or not, the civil rights movement technically started with the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters at the Pullman Company.
Really?
Yeah,
Can you
you
tell
see,
us more about
Pullman was a passenger car manufacturing company that also had services for railroads where they ran their sleeping cars, diners, and whatnot.
Mhm.
And for a number of years, they weren't allowed to unionize like a lot of other people were at the time.
And was that a racially discriminated?
Kind of, sort of. I mean, and they were actually fired for trying to unionize at times.
Oh my gosh.
But they actually, I forget exactly his name, but he has a passenger car on Amtrak named after him. That was actually built, one of the last few that were built at the Pullman factory in Chicago.
Wow. Gotcha. Well, thank you for that tidbit, Zach. It's yeah.
In fact, the Pullman Company, I think, was the first major company in the U.S. to hire African American workers after slavery.
No way.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And that was another big thing with the Emancipation
Yeah.
Proclamation is that, you know,
Yeah.
the people were allowed to continue living and working the way they had been, only they would demand pay for it now. You know,
Yeah.
they would have to get paid for their services instead of just doing it for free.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you're saying, the railroads, I mean, even them being built, a lot of it was built by slaves. But
Not
after-
necessarily all of it, but
Oh, no, not all of it, but like you're saying, eventually they were able to be paid as normal workers, just like anyone else.
and that went up all the way into like the early 70s, I believe. But actually ran as late as the 60s because that was the last major few years that passenger trains were independent and whatnot. Now it's nationalized.
That's awesome. It's progress, just like we were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we all work
But the
together.
Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters is still pretty much a thing in the background.
Okay. Very good. Well, I think we've heard from everyone except for Tyrone. I'll put you on the spot, man.
Don't put me on the spot.
Hey, you're part of this group just like everybody, man. What do you think about, you said you didn't really know what Juneteenth was before we had this discussion. What have you learned?
I guess slavery.
You just learned more about
Slavery, I guess.
slavery and what exactly it meant
Yeah.
at the time. It's crazy to think, even 200 years ago. It seems like an eternity ago that America was in that sort of turmoil. But it was only a couple hundred years ago, and we are still rebuilding from that. Yeah, guys. All right. So I hope I hope you guys learned a little something today. I know I did. And it's my hope that maybe for the rest of the day after we leave this meeting, we can go home and continue having these somewhat awkward, somewhat difficult conversations with the people we care about. And yeah, spread positivity, spread awareness, spread knowledge that everyone should be treated the same. Right.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think we're going to wrap this one up. Thanks again to everyone at home for tuning in, and happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Yes, happy Juneteenth.
Same for all you too.